Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Basscast Radio. I am your host, Brian Carter, and my co-host, Thomas Aarons with Fishing the DMV is in the house. Guys, for you guys who are watching live, Bass Geek's been under the weather a little bit. He's starting to feel a lot better. But this weekend, I know this will already be uploaded. We don't upload till Mondays, but you guys get to see Bass Geek in Knox Vegas for the East Tennessee Fishing Expo, Valley Fishing Expo, whatever they call it. It's a damn good time. It's a great place. You're going to see a lot of, we were talking about it earlier with our guest tonight, Mr. Steve Chapman. It's a whole lot of hand painted crankbaits down there in Tennessee at that expo. You see them there's so many. Holy cow. I thought I'd never seen so many crankbaits in my whole entire life painted by so many people when I went to that expo. But
that's the thing to do now.
It is. But they were everywhere. But it's a great show. Lots of great deals. I don't know if the vendor is still coming back. I was a big fan of they had a vendor down there every year. He would have lizards, Senkos, um, tons of different plastic. And you just grabbed a bag and picked up whatever you wanted, put it in a bag and pay for it. And you could pick up a green color, watermelon red, any color you wanted and put it in a bag. When they were gone, they were gone. A ton to choose from. And that was probably my coolest vendor down there because, sometimes you want to mix it up a little bit, want to try a new bait or a new product. And that was pretty freaking cool. But that show is great. But we're skipping it this year, guys. We are going to go to Angler's Choice if it doesn't snow knee deep today, asshole. Because it's supposed to dump right here in Central Virginia this weekend. And I think they're calling for, as of now, we're calling for a foot here. Now, yes. Steve, I was watching your neck of the woods and people run around shorts, and I was pissed this morning on YouTube. So, I mean, I was like, what? I was like, you guys suck. Yes. So it's supposed to be a foot of snow and a high of around the teens for like right after it snows. So the first or next, when it's after this thing uploads, hopefully you guys have all been able to get out of your house and all been able to go to work. But it's supposed to be an interesting weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, if all works out, I'm going to English Choice Open House. Nick and Sandy, I want to thank them for sponsoring the basscast.com, Missile Baits as well, and Just Rig It. So check all them out. I think Missile's got baits there. Just Rig It would have had a booth there. And English Choice has got one of the best tackle stores in South Virginia, I guess, almost North Carolina. So it's in Martinsville, Virginia, guys, right? Like 10 minutes from the North Carolina line. So get on down there. If you didn't get a chance to go to the expo, swing by their tackle store. It is a mini bass pro shop. They got everything you need, plus some $100,000 boats you don't need. Just my opinion, but because the boys told me all the time, I used to catch giant bass on aluminum boats, and I didn't have none of this mess, and I still won. So you don't have to have the glitter to get the gold. And these guys in front of us right here will probably be thumbs up to that 110% because I don't know too many anglers that could start off with one of those unless Daddy wrote a check. Bassmaster Elite. So there we go. But yeah, so check it all out. Thank you for English Choice sponsoring. Like I said, I will tell you guys this. I went down there after COVID. It was the year after COVID to their open house. And I walked around, beautiful showroom full of boats. And they had this one little selection of boats to the left-hand side. And me and my buddy went looking over there. And all we saw was sold, sold, sold. Do you guys know what the average price of them boats were?
The GDP of an African country.
Yep. $100,000 to $105,000. The little ones over here that me and my little buddy maybe could afford, make a $300 down payment on, were just sitting there.
Did you just say $105,000?
Good Lord, man.
What's going on with our industry?
Yes.
And then how much does the truck cost to tow that thing?
And then buy forward-facing sonar.
Yep.
And this was before forward-facing sonar hadn't even come out yet. So, I mean, this was, like I said, this is before COVID. I mean, well, I don't know. Forward-facing might have started to come out, but
yeah,
everybody was still in that neighborhood where we were rejecting it and we don't want it. except for the pros, and they had 8 transducers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Brian, we've been talking about this forever. There has to be a ceiling on this, right? Like eventually are we really going to see the average boat price eventually be 200,000, 300,000? Like when does this thing hit the inevitable ceiling and this thing has to correct? Because it is getting kind of preposterous. Is like what I'd like to say. And again, I'm younger. I don't remember the time that boat deals were relatively cheap, but compared to 2019 till now, it's a drastic uptick in the price.
I'll be honest, I think when I first got into this thing, so you guys, all of you guys, you heard my story. I told Thomas the story this past weekend on his show. We'll talk about that in a minute. The Richmond Fishing Expo, awesome time, by the way. I think a boat was like 45 to $50,000 then.
I remember when it was $27,000 when I first started the radio show in 2007.
So, and
And I
you, I
remember
was, I
thinking,
was a couple years after you. So,
who's going to buy a, and I mean this nicely, as you know, saltwater fishermen, we used to call bass boats glitter boats. And,
yes,
and you'd go, who's going to buy 27,000 glitter boat? And not to mention, at that point in time, I had a flats boat that was 65,000, but it was completely carbon Kevlar, and it floated in 3.5 inches of water because it was a skiff. And so you wanted it as light as possible. So there was some reason behind that, but
And
yeesh.
the crazy market value dichotomy there, where again at the Richmond show, you had a center console bay boat that was half the price of
Mm.
some of the bass boats that were there, and it just shows you that it's going full steam ahead right now, and it's gotta have a stop, because I really do think there's a bad dry rot underneath the carpet of bass fishing, and this is
hmm
why I think kayak fishing, online tournaments and stuff have starting to eat slowly underneath the surface the money, because if you just get out of college, you're starting a wife and kids, you have a house in like Ashburn, in suburbia, where are you going to be putting $100,000 22-foot bass boat? Where? How?
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to stay married? Because she ain't going to like that surprise purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And they really need to think long term about how they can kind of course correct this before it just becomes like the PGA.
It's obnoxious. That's the truth of it.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when saltwater kayak fishing blew up here in Central Florida. And they used to have these things called boondoggles, where all these kayak
hmm
anglers would get together, and they'd ask the radio show. This guy named Redfish Chuck would say, "Steve, can you promote this on the radio show?" And then we'd all go to this boondoggle and just have the best time. Just everyone's cooking and having fun. And kayaks everyone would go to the no motor zone for kayak fishing and just slaughter saltwater tarpon and snook and redfish and sea trout and all that stuff.
Mm.
And it wasn't expensive to get into. And then slowly, as the radio show changed, it started to become more about bass fishing because there's just a lot more bass fishermen than saltwater fishermen. And then when you started to realize just how expensive everything is, and then since COVID, things have gotten ridiculous. It's obnoxious at times.
All right, just a little disclaimer, guys. For you guys who are listening, you can't tell who that voice is. Steve Chapman, everybody. I want to welcome Steve to Basscast Radio. Thank him for coming on. Get your fish on if you're not following on YouTube. I try to watch all the videos as well. So we try to keep up with each other and what's happening. Guys, I will tell you this. Steve is the man. You want to know what the hell is going on in tournament bass fishing? Steve has got it. Steve, there's two different versions of information. Steve's up here, some are down here. But Steve is the man. And like I said, we watch just to keep up with what's going on. You were the first one to break who's moving on and from the Major League Fishing in 2025, 2026. And like I said, you stay on top of it, man. And you do
Sometimes
a
it's
heck of
hard.
you do a
Mm.
great job.
I appreciate that. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry you have to see this in those videos because this isn't a really good look. But if I could do it where you didn't have to see my face and all you could hear is my voice, I would do it. That would be the first change on the channel. That's
We
not a
got a face.
joke.
We got a face for radio. It
Yeah.
happens, you know what I'm saying? But no, so um moving on to that real quick, let's jump over to Thomas. Thomas and I hung out at the Richmond Fishing Expo. A great time. guys, money was being spent. People,
Mm-hmm.
I heard everything except for one booth today didn't do too well. He has some $200 rods, and you know, as we were speaking earlier, there's market we're in right now. So I mean, I heard they did okay, but the plastics and the lures and all that great stuff were flying off the shelves. And
Yeah.
this is no line. I was there. I think I got there about noon, and I left about 5:30. Went
Mm.
ate Mexican and drove 2.5 hours home. But there were a lot of pegs empty when I left Saturday from a lot of these booths. 911 Custom Lures, Biz Baits. How'd your weekend go, Thomas?
Based on what Les was saying, don't quote me on it. It was like one of the best shows they've had in the past couple of years. I mean, again, you're talking the Richmond Fishing Expo. You're just south of DC, aka just money central. It was amazing compared to last year. The weather held off. It was great. I think we had for our meet and greet time, we had over like 250 people that stopped by and say hi. I mean, we had a better
Wow.
turnout than some of the pros. That's why my voice is shot, man. It was nonstop. I think I sat down.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's definitely got a lot of imposter syndrome here, but it was a really really good turnout with everything there, and again, Richmond Expo and a snowstorm is usually just hand in hand, and somehow it held off until this weekend where we're going to get completely dumped on. But great turnout, and hopefully, if I don't get snowed in, I'll be coming down to the Anglers Choice meetup. But if it snows, apparently we're supposed to get like 27 inches, so I don't want to jinx it, but we'll see.
It's it's Wednesday. It's Virginia. We got
Yeah,
mountains. Steve, we got mountains up here where you guys got the flats down there.
in the sun.
It's something that you guys probably, yeah, and son, you guys probably, I swam for Quantico National Swim Team. I lived in Virginia.
Oh
Really?
shoot.
Yeah. For 2 years, I did 2.5 years. I went to Stafford High School. I don't even know if that's it.
Yeah, in Stafford,
We
Virginia.
lived in a quiet harbor, and the guy that lived directly across the street was a 1 or a 2-star general for Quantico, and they needed a swimmer, and I couldn't play basketball or baseball during the winter, so I swam for 2 years, and uh,
That's
just
awesome.
some of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life at Quantico. That's the God's honest truth, because they had an Olympic sized pool, and they had a high dive, and they would get these guys with their backpacks and everything on, and they would have to climb up the steps, and
Oh
we'd be
yeah.
doing our laps, and they would be going up, and you could tell who never swam in their life. And we'd be doing our laps, and we'd all try to get in that furthest lane so we could watch them sink to the bottom and laugh as we were doing laps.
Oh
Mm.
my
And these
gosh.
guys would get up there and jump. Some of them would belly flop, some would make it right. They'd hit that water and sink like a fart in an elevator, just all the way down. And as they went down, they'd be struggling, and we'd be doing our laps. And then two people on the bottom with masks and air would be down there, would help them up. And they would, if they didn't get themselves up or didn't get their stuff off, they had to go back up to the top and do it again.
Oh wow.
And we laughed for hours. I'm not joking. And that's mean to say, as like, because I was an 8th and a 9th grader, but I remember thinking, why would you do this and tell them that you can swim, and then get up there and be crying like a baby and
Mm.
jump 50
That's
feet into the
crazy.
water? Yeah. So I swam for the Quantico National Swim Team for 2 seasons, 2
That's
years.
awesome. So you know how weather goes around here. It could be
Hmm.
calling for 80 inches of snow, and by Friday we're down to an inch.
Yeah.
Because it can turn on a dime, it can hit a mountain, it can do whatever, and that's just the way. I don't trust. I mean, they're all saying this is going to line up to about a foot. I am going down. I'm gonna leave early. I'm gonna leave the house probably about 8 o'clock. I'm gonna eat lunch, and then I'm gonna head home. I think it's supposed to start here around 2 or 3 o'clock, is what the prediction is now. And guys, we like I said, we always record on Wednesday, upload on Monday, by the way. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be okay and get to hang out with the team from Angler's Choice. And I'm glad you're coming down, Thomas. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed, because again, since I'm up in the frozen north of Northern Virginia and Maryland, like we could get smoked, or we could get a dusting. So, well, TBA on if I can make it down. I really really hope I can, but we shall see with that.
All right. So let's dive in this. So get your fish on, Steve. Let's talk about this really quick. introduce yourself for some people who might not have ever watched your show for some stupid reason, and talk about why you created the show and what's the ultimate goal with your show.
So I did radio starting around 2007, 2008. A show called, what was the name of it? I don't even know the name of the show. It was on two ESPN stations. And I had done a bunch. I used to work for AAA, and then I started doing websites for fishing guides
Mm-hmm.
and Tahatsu and a bunch of stuff, a bunch of ads and a bunch of stuff. And then I left there and started to do the radio show. It was called Hog Wild Fishing, and it was me and my buddy Dave. And then we had a split, and I went over to another show called Boudreaux's Boondocks. John Bowman, he used to be part of Bassmaster, and
Yeah.
nobody could spell Boudreaux, to be honest. And I'm like, we got to get rid of this name. So then we made it Fishing Florida Radio, and I did that till COVID. And then around COVID's when I started doing started doing Get Your Fish On. And I thought, well, I'd continue interviewing people and doing that, or doing lure reviews. And then quite honestly, I felt like I was over it, to be honest. It wasn't that I was bored with it, but I talked to A-list celebrities, Chris Pratt and Dwayne Johnson and all
Just
these
name
people that,
dropping.
yeah, just love the people that love love fishing.
Mhm.
And then you have other people like you become real good friends with like Andy Mill, who, if you don't know who Andy Mill is, he's a fly fisherman, Olympic skier, Olympic gold medalist, unbelievable. And you hear all these stories, and I thought, well, I'll take that to YouTube and do the same thing. But the problem is that when you start to have these relationships and friendships with people, that sometimes you don't ask the right questions because you know the answers. And so I kind of got a little bit bored of it. And then I thought, well, I'll do lure reviews and that kind of stuff. And then about last year, that's when I really decided I'm going to change the channel, and I'm going to start doing more, well, as much unbiased news as I can. Sometimes it is biased, sometimes it isn't. And I really became motivated because there were a bunch of people that were chirping at me, or really one person that was chirping at me. And my goal was to just beat that person, just beat them to a pulp. They're a flash in the pan. And that changed the whole trajectory of the channel. And I just try to keep up with the news as well as possible. And then when there isn't a lot of news, I try to come up with my own topics that I think is interesting. Sometimes they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep trying to make the channel better and better, as good as I can be. And really what that comes down to is just learning the algorithm of YouTube. I have a real statistical mind. So I get up every morning. I spend 2 hours reading whatever changes happened the day before to YouTube to try to make my channel as good as possible. And I don't really call it my channel. I always say it's our channel. It's
Right.
everybody who is involved and participates and gives me ideas. It's all of our channel. Unfortunately, I have to see my ugly mug, but that's just how it is. So, the objective is to keep growing, not to do it by clickbaiting people or what I call controversy clicks, because I think that's really where where people grow the fastest. If you can go, well, I'm going to point blame at this person. I'm going to
Mhm.
make an argument with this
Right.
person, even though, you know, you forget the person's podcast name and now you're in a fight with them. And that makes no sense. So I just keep trying to improve the way that I do things, and just keep pushing as much as possible. I will say I do get a lot of burnout.
It,
Um,
dude, that's gonna happen. Holy cow! People, I was on a show 2 weeks ago, and that was one of the questions that got asked to me was, "How do you overcome that burnout?" Because holy cow, it's like you don't get any time off.
mhm,
I get about Christmas and New Year's, and that's it. Because you figured if I would have went to the show in Raleigh, then the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Series began already, so that's got that's those press releases got to go up. And then I went to Richmond, and then this weekend another show. In 2 weeks I'll be, or is it three? We'll be in Fishersville somewhere in February at another show. Me and Thomas will be there. So I mean, it's and then March the Classic, and then the tournament season begins. So it really is hard not to be burnt out, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, how have you dealt with it so far?
So,
Oh, back at you.
so 2025 was really it was really a tough year for me, personally, mentally, and physically. There was a drastic change happened in my life. I haven't really talked about it too much, and it changed. It changed the way I have to do things, and so like this year. Well, this year in 2026, I know what I'm going to do.
Okay.
I've kind of set a goal and just said, when it comes to December and it comes to the holiday time, I'm not going to stress out if I don't have a video to post every day. I'm going to post maybe once a week, and just give myself a whole month to take a break of things unless something drastic happens. For me, motivation is my biggest, it's the thing that I do, that I work the best under. I like when the people talk shit about me. I like it.
That's awesome.
Most of the stuff is completely a lie, but what it does is it motivates me, and then makes my goal. It makes me be very goal oriented, and I don't have to go attack the person, and I could attack the people nonstop, or do gossip or rumors or whatever that is. But motivation is my biggest thing for me.
Go ahead, Thomas.
Is that the biggest difference coming from a radio background to social media, where in radio or TV, you have the audience baked in, they have the reach built in, so you can talk about in general what you want, and the audience is there, versus with like YouTube as an example, there's a virality to it, that if you want to talk about earthworms and no one wants to talk about that, that's not going to get recommended. That's not going to go viral, which leads us into these categories of, you either have to be clickbaity, you have to do controversy, because spoiler guys, social media does not bring out the best in people's instincts.
No.
I think, and that's a great question. So for me, and just me, if I do a video and it tanks, it doesn't bother me. It used to. Or if I do something and I see a bunch of subscribers leave. Like I go through my algorithm or the analytics on YouTube meticulously. So like if I see one day where there's someone where I lost three subscribers, doesn't seem like much. Some people will be overly critical and look at that and go, well, what did I do on that day that made those people not like me? And for me, if they don't like me, they don't like me. The best thing I can say is, when we start worrying about everybody needing that like or needing that click or to hit the follow button, I think that's when you start to do clickbaitable things.
Yeah.
I'm not, just me. I'm not motivated uh, by how many people watch the videos. I am motivated to do the best that I can, and I'm motivated to do YouTube as extra income, which isn't very much as is. But I think I'm really good at just going, okay, it is what it is. And I know other people, honestly, that can't even handle it if they have a bad video. They go berserk.
Well, yeah.
Oh,
And
wow.
I think it's really hard, because you have to treat it, when you are on social media, where it's this, your phone or whatever, we take it too personally. You have to understand, like, they're not real people, because like when you're
Mm-hmm.
interacting with somebody through a screen, that is not the same way you're going to interact with somebody in person. But I think especially with people that grew up with this technology, they can't distinguish that, and so you just got to learn how to almost like post and ghost, and understand, like, these comments, just treat them like they're bots. Don't treat them
Mm-hmm.
like this is literally your neighbor that's insulting you personally.
I'll be
Yeah.
honest. I love it because I don't, dang if it, I love
You
I
grew up
really
in a
do
bar
because you
though,
know what?
dude.
Well, Yeah, that's true too. I mean, after a couple death threats in the last couple of years and, things of that nature, I mean, you kinda get used to that part. But I mean, you know, whatever they post or comment or whatever, it's just pushing the algorithm. I don't care. I'll leave it there. Unless it's really, really hate, that's gone fast. But if it's just like, Brian, you suck, or I hate your videos,
I,
I'm
I,
getting paid. I
I,
don't care what you say. I'm getting a check and you ain't getting shit.
I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't realize. I try to reply to every post, every comment you do. You say
You're
something
on it.
shitty. You want to know what I put? Thanks for the comment. I don't go back at them. I don't say anything. I had one guy that told me I can't watch this guy's videos because he can't use a bait caster. Hey, dickhead.
That's insulting. Very weird level.
I'm better with a spinning rod than a bait caster because we use spinning rods when we go saltwater fishing.
Agreed.
So, and if you can't watch me because of that, well, kill the superhero. I don't want to do the thing, but kill the superhero. Superman can't be killed. I don't get, and then I go, okay, he puts this on my page and everyone else's page, and then I just go, you want to screw this guy? I block him, and then I never have to worry about him again. And
Yeah.
if you can't watch me because at that point in time I was, I used a spinning reel. Dude, get out of my life, man.
Hell, I think David Dudley uses a spinning reel for everything.
Yeah.
Does he?
And
Yeah, that's what I was been told. I don't know. That's what the
He's a,
guys say. It don't
he's a pretty
matter.
good fisherman.
I came from the deep sea side of it as well. I mean, I didn't know nothing about bass when I started in 08, 09. I had a coworker help me get started, and I read every Bassmaster magazine I could get a hold of. But for the first 20 years, 5 years of my life, I did pier fishing, boat fishing, charter boat fishing, ocean, wherever we could get to the ocean and get on the water. That's what I did. I didn't use nothing but a spinning reel.
Use whatever rod you have to use to catch fish. That's what I say. It doesn't matter.
Go ahead, Thomas.
yeah. Now, and because I get a lot of kids that stop and ask me too, probably like all of you, about social media and stuff. And I think there's a couple of hard and fast rules with fishing. It is one, this is across social media. You have to be authentic because authenticity is the currency of the future. If people have a very sensitive BS meter. Two is you're not going to hit 1 million subs in the fishing niche. It's insanely hard. If you're going to try to do like entertainment, social media, pop culture, you can have a Stranger Things video that will go viral. It's insanely hard to get that. So there's more of a cap in the fishing world. So if you think that you're going to be the next Mr. Beast in fishing, you might, but I'm just saying the deck is kind of stacked against you. So don't chase the algorithm. Be your authentic self, put out 50 to 100 videos, and then kind of look and see where the cards fall and adjust it. But yeah, analytics is good and bad because I think you can spiral yourself out of control too. So just kind of know your personality so you don't overanalyze and get paralysis.
That the humble thing is the best thing. I think the people that start chirping and saying all these negative things, they're not humble. They're not humble at all. They are egotistical, narcissist jerks.
And one thing because I had this reflection with my wife in the car back, I am so glad I found, like, I'm not very famous, but I found something when I was older. If I was 17, 18, holy shit, that would have messed me up. Like these kids that find 1 million plus followers, 100,000, 200,000, or like a McKinney, just age wise, where you're on the national stage. How does that not affect you mentally? I mean, like Bryce Harper back in the day, when you're 17 years old, a major league contract. Yeah, how does that not affect you? Honestly, and are we doing an injustice to some of these kids, some of these professional kids, and not having somebody there to help rein them in and give them a reality check through some of this? Because it's wild. It really is.
You're 100% right. There's too many people trying to follow that click. I mean, I think I said in a recent video, I have a buddy that if I don't like what he puts on his Facebook page, if I don't hit like, he calls me and asks me if we're in a fight. This is not, there is no exaggeration. This is not an exaggeration. I'm going to send this to him afterwards. And I the other day he put something on and I didn't get on Facebook for 2 or 3 days. And then he called me, he said, hey, what did I do? And I go, what do you mean? He goes, what did I do? And I go, and I just said, I don't want to say his name, but I go, I haven't been on Facebook. And he's like,
Randy.
are you, are you sure you haven't been on Facebook? And I go, I haven't been on Facebook. And he's like,
Oh my God.
and he got really emotional. I said, and I just said, and I mean this nicely. I go, dude, you got to stop being a bitch. You got to stop this. Did lose my phone number? This is ridiculous.
Mm.
Holy cow. Yeah, social media can be one of those things. I mean, like I said, I had a couple good years, and I had 1 year here that was really freaking bad, where lots of complaints, 2 death threats. I mean, and the bad thing was they were over, Steve, little shit, like a $30 fishing tournament. I mean, it was a kayak tournament. That was one of the 2 or 3 reasons why there is no Bass Cast kayak tournament series, and I will never do one ever again.
I
Because
forgot someone's podcast name, and I was told that if I needed to walk on the other side of the aisle at iCast, I forgot the name of a podcast, and he told me
wow.
he wanted a piece of me, among other things, that I was not an industry person. I was a clown. I've never done anything in the industry, even though I started something that he did before he even was in the industry. But he
Oh my
said,
gosh.
make sure you're on the other side of the aisle. Now, mind you, I'm probably 15 inches taller than this guy. I'm 6'4.5",
Ooh.
240
Hammers are
pounds.
weird. Good
Dude,
Lord,
you
man.
think I'm really scared of you? I shit bigger than this guy. And, you know,
That's
dude,
awesome.
it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
All right, so let's talk a little bit
Okay.
about bass fishing. Really, like I said, guys,
Speaking of
Steve, man,
drama,
really,
bass fishing.
let's talk about the other drama, tournament bass fishing. And I want to start off first with the NPFL, the new rules for 2025 when they went to the no forward facing sonar. And, bravo to them. It was probably one of the best years of tournament bass fishing. Just in that, it's like, it kind of got so bad in the elites as we watch people get disqualified, and everybody. I had Brandon Cobb on last week on the show, and we
Amazing,
talked
bye.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
It was amazing, by the way.
And we talked about what was it really like sitting there being behind the scenes watching, it'd be like watching your coworker get fired. I mean, it's really what it was, and you're like, damn, am I next? So
Go ahead.
go ahead.
NPFL making that decision was genius. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
It
was.
was.
NPFL is really an up and comer. They do a lot of things really amazing. They
Mhm.
last year, in terms of growth, probably the NPFL had the most growth, in my opinion, in 2025 than everybody. Now, that doesn't mean they're the best, but the no forward facing sonar, their new platform to stream made things so much
Yes.
better. They had a lot of things that were just wonderful.
What is that's just, we go down a philosophical rabbit hole. What makes the definition of the best? Because that is, I think they know their niche. And I think that's what's fascinating about them as a business is they're okay with their piece of the pie. And that's what anglers have been wanting since the FLW versus Bassmaster days, when neither organization would play nice and all
Mhm.
anglers wanted was, hey, can we fish both? They were the first restaurant to be like, oh, you want a burger? We'll serve it to you. And it's like brilliant. It's like, no, that's just common business tactics. And they're the first one to kind of show that.
Yeah, NPFL, how to make the best. I guess when you look at it, the best. I guess you look at probably viewership, website views.
Yeah.
Uh, you look at stuff like their views on YouTube, their social media presence, stuff like that. When you look at it that way, because I like to look at things statistically,
Mm-hmm.
you know, NPFL probably made a jump from 1 to 1,000 last year. I mean,
Yeah.
they really, really, they started off a little bit rough in there at the
Oh,
first
yeah.
tournament, but each tournament they got better and better. To be honest, I expect the NPFL to continue to improve this year. I do think their schedule. I think the problem that they have is their schedule isn't very good. Every year, the anglers complain about the schedule. That's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And I think that
I
has a
wonder if
lot to do with it.
I wonder if we talk about a lot here on the show. We wonder if it's, I don't hear that side of it, but I wonder if it's because of the bodies of water they're going to. are these English? I don't want to say they're spoiled, but in the Elite Series, it's the same lake every year. Major League Fishing, it's pretty much the same lake every year. Let's change it by a day. That's about it. And the NPFL said we don't want to do that. We want new bodies of water. We want fresh bodies of water. And they've like Thomas said, they kind of found their market. They're fishing, in a little lake down here in Central Virginia, where everybody else has got to start out with a big ass body of water, big turnout, big stage, the big dream thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, you wonder if that has something to do with it as well. I know I hear a lot of complaint. The only other complaint I really hear is about the NPFL is there's no feeder system. It's just a way you
Mhm.
enter, you come in, you pay your $5,000, 7, 10, whatever it is, and you fish all 3 days, and you got a chance to take home $100,000. Anybody can qualify.
Yeah. That's there's a couple problems NPFL has. That's one of the problems. The second problem they have is their payouts are horrible. That's
Mhm.
that's the next thing that's holding them back. And then they can change that. And this year will probably be a year where I know they're keeping their payouts from last year the same as this year. I think they're going to pay 42 of the 125 I think anglers are hoping to have. So their payouts have to change. The thing about where they go fish is that most people don't want to see you catch 5 fish for 10 pounds. That's the problem. And you go to those places time after time where you're not getting a lot of big fish.
Right.
You might get a ton of fish, but you look at it from, do fans want to watch the 5 fish for 12 pounds 3 ounces, or do they want to watch the 5 fish for 32 pounds?
Mm-hmm.
Eh, Yeah, no, you're right, 'cause isn't it the duality of man and fandom where it's like, we don't want you to have a scope where you break every record, but then we're really upset when you go to the Sabine right after that, and then you're catching, 6 ounces to win the deal. It's
Yeah.
almost like you can't please people, isn't it? So, just do a good schedule. And I think that's something where it's the same thing if you're gonna make a movie. You can't have the input of 1,000 people because you'll come up with something dumb like, I don't know, splitting forward-facing sonar into 2 periods for the BFLs. Just make a decision and just do it. Hey, we're going to create the best schedule that we can come up with. We're going to have some that are tough. We're going to have some that are slugfest, and
Mm,
people should be okay with it because it's also about being a sport in AOI. I think everyone will agree, most anglers, it's about the guy at the end of the year earning that AOI trophy. And that also means you have to put a couple of those monkey wrenches in there that are really tough.
You do. I think the brilliant thing that NPFL did, well, forward-facing sonar is brilliant, but the other thing they did was they made their schedule around the elites and the
Mm-hmm.
opens, so that those anglers that are already established anglers and are absolute ridiculous anglers can now go and fish the NPFL. The problem with that is that this is not to be negative about anybody on the NPFL, but when you take Patrick Walters and you fish against me, he's kicking my face in 99 out of
Oh
100
yeah.
times. It might be 100 out of 100 times, to be honest. An angler who is a professional angler year round is going to beat that guy who has a job and doesn't have all the sponsorship and doesn't have all
Yeah.
that stuff. And then you're dealing with issues with, anglers not being happy. And when you look at it, last year I think I did a video on it. I don't know exactly, but I think like 55 or 56% of the money that was won by like 20 anglers.
Mm-hmm.
And
You
those were
did
all
do a video on
elite.
that.
And
Yeah, you
that
did do a video on that.
and that I don't think that's it for me, because I have friends on in the NPFL. I don't like, that's the one thing I don't like. And those are friends, unfortunately, they're getting their faces kicked in by Patrick Walters and Greg Hackney and Jason Christie and all those guys, because there is a difference between a full-time pro and a really good pro.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the whole, that was what the NPFL preached when it first began, was it was for the weekend warrior, and that's why it's only one tournament a month, and that's why the season's stretched out till October. Was, when everybody else is long done. They that was the whole deal about it. You fished a tournament, you're gone for a week, you went home and worked for 3 weeks, and you came back and fished another tournament.
Yeah, yeah,
But
it's
you don't have the
fascinating.
sorry. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, go Steve, go Steve.
But the problem with that is that you don't have the eyes on you that you need to stay up
True.
with bass in MLF and the invitationals or the pro circuit and the opens.
Yeah. If I had to put my business cap on, I really believe their strategy is Major League Fishing and Bass are just going to sit there and kill each other. And once that war is over with, we'll pick up the scraps. And if that is their plan and they're thinking long term, that is fascinating business wise. Because one reason I think they're that Garmin and all those electric units, the reason they do the rules they are, because they know if they ban it the next day, NPFL picks up those contracts immediately. They are that opportunistic, in my personal opinion, when it comes to business. If MLF and Bass said, like, yeah, we're going to listen to those fans say, no scope. Great. Next day, NPFL, hey, guys, we got a brand new sponsor. So I don't know. It's fascinating to see where this ends in 5 to 6 years and who's still left.
Yeah, I think I think MPFL makes it 5 to 10 years. I think they have an owner who is an angler who is very dedicated to the sport and dedicated to make sure that MPFL succeeds, and that's really important. Do they need a feeder system? That would be great, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm Brad is not a fan of me, but I'll be honest, I'm 100% sure that Brad goes through the process, or a majority of the anglers go through that application process. For them to say that everybody does is not true. That's the blatant lie. Uh, and that's not trying to be me. I'm not trying to be mean, but
Right.
you talk to anglers and they go, I didn't fill out the application process. I met them, shook their hand. They asked me to be in.
Yeah, it is so fascinating when you said earlier, like the definition of a professional angler, because I wouldn't say the NPFL. It's not the premium leagues like the BPT or Bass. But then it's like if Patrick Walters just, let's just say hypothetically, just fished the NPFL, won 90% of his tournaments, and he basically paid his mortgage with that. Where is he then as a professional angler if he chooses not to, but he cashes checks? I don't know, because like you think of the old days where people got their start on the FLW tour, got their sponsorships, got their pedigree, and then make the jump to Bass. Is this just going to be like a AAA system? Is it its own
Yeah.
independent league like Canadian football? Like where does it shape up in it? Yeah, that's fascinating.
I think the NPFL is at like a double A phase. I think you have the BPT and the elites, and you have the invitationals and the opens, and then you have the BPT. All right, I mean, not excuse me, the MPFL. That's just my opinion. There aren't. You can say, well, Keith Carson fished the MPFL the first year and won. I don't know if he won Angler of the Year or whatever it was, and we still didn't know who he was. And then he jumped into the opens, or not the opens, the invitationals, and did really well, got a sponsor exemption, and now he's on the BPT. There are very few people that are leaving NPFL and going through the ranks like that. The
Mm-hmm.
people that are joining NPFL are, you know, in my opinion, Patrick Walters made a brilliant decision to go fish NPFL. Why wouldn't you? He's won 400 plus $1,000 in 3 or 4 years. He
Yeah, he's got a
at one point we called, this is joking, we called the NPFL the National Patrick Walters Fishing League because he was winning that many tournaments.
It was.
it went from
He's
John Sokup to Patrick Walters.
yeah. He's and you don't see, like I said, you don't, there are guys trying to get into the BPT and that kind of stuff, but a lot of the guys, the named anglers that they have, are leaving the big organizations and joining NPFL, and that's great for them because as Boyd Duckett said to me, if you don't have viewership, we don't get sponsors, we don't have sponsors, we don't have a fishing tournament.
That's true. And you really do. I mean, I know it's kind of, I know the anglers you're speaking of, that are on that second tier. We talk about NASCAR here all the time. The top 10% win NASCAR. I mean, the big teams, the big budgets, and the big clubs, and the big sponsors, and the big eyes. And but at the same time, with the NPFL, you really do need those superstars. I mean, me and Thomas are big baseball fans. You probably got about 3 or 4 players on a baseball team that are superstars. The rest of them are just baseball players. They're good. I mean, they're great, but you have to have that to kind of that spotlight. And that was one of the spotlights that in our opinion, you're from the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Series Hell, who was Kevin Van Dam for like 5 years? I mean, I didn't know who he was. I mean, shit, unless you
Mhm.
showed up to a tournament, I mean, unless he was doing good that event, you didn't know who he was. There's no way in. There's no fan activity. They didn't tell you which lake they were on. They just went and recorded some videos and uploaded them a couple
Yeah.
days later or went live. So I mean, you know, all these people who signed the deal was then the term was sold their souls to the devil, Boyd Duckett. It was one of those. I mean, it came out to be that you're not going to have some of the best freaking anglers in the world jump ship, like willing to break the contract if it wasn't shit.
Yeah, yeah, and we always have to remember that, like, isn't hindsight fantastic when we rewrite history that, like, a lot of pros made the jump because there were issues with bass. Let's make sure. I think it's so funny, like, in hindsight, we're like, "Oh, yeah, big scary Boyd Duckett, man." It's like, well, I still remember those podcasts ICAD when it was going down, and there's a lot of people unhappy. And so there was a reason that symptom was underlying for a long time that made that big bust. So yeah, I'm fascinated because we need consolidation. And spoilers, guys, the 2026 market ain't great. So at some point we need a contraction. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. So who is going to be the last one on the dance floor? You see all these different companies. You can see them get bought up by everything. Every private equity firm owns God knows how many bait companies, or Johnny Morris owns them, and that's going to end up happening with these professional leagues too. It's just there's too many out there, and there's not enough anglers that can fill those slots.
There's not enough anglers that can afford to fill those
Right,
spots.
Yeah.
right.
There's way too many people that think they can compete at that level, but you really can't. It's not a slight against anybody, but man, I mean, you can't. I don't want to go fishing with. I'm just going to keep using Patrick Hulse. I don't want to fish against him ever. I don't ever
Mhm.
want to. I know he's going to destroy me. And there just isn't, there's a lot of people that are dreamers. And the problem is that the dream is very expensive and it's a life-changing deal to go into the NPFL or the Opens, wherever it is. And it's not getting any cheaper. When you think about $5,200 for entry fees or $6,425, and you have, let's just say $2,500 in expenses at every place. So if you're in the BPT, that means you have to cash a check, or else you're out almost $9,000.
Yeah. And I think this is where there's a big, this is going to be too hard of a word, but the big lie with the high school and college is it a sport? Because if you're playing football in high school and you run a 4.4 and you squat 500 pounds, a college will find you. You will get a scholarship. Fishing, I think that's half of a percentage that your pure skill will get you through without money. You need money. And if it's
You
about
need
how much
money.
money you throw at it, does that make it actually a sport? Or is it more like NASCAR? Where you're part of the Joe Gibbs team and you are the lucky guy that gets plucked out of obscurity to be on the team because you're good enough. Um, but that's where
I
it's
don't
going.
use
I think
I
finish.
don't use the word sport. I use the word hobby. It's not a slight against everybody, but
Yeah.
at that high school and not, maybe not college level, at a high school level, they'll go to Harris Chain right over here,
Yep.
and there'll be 440 anglers, high school anglers, competing
Mhm.
for a $2,500 scholarship. That doesn't
Mhm.
make sense. Not only are we wrecking that fishery for weeks, but they're competing at the highest level, and whoever has the most money or daddy's money is the ones that do really well. And then you go to college and it's still a lot about money too. It's about who has the best boat.
Yeah, because I really do believe, and guys, this is just my personal opinion. If you had a limitless credit card, if you fish the opens nonstop for 15 years, eventually you would have one season where you made the elites. Um, if I go and try out for a baseball team, there is no chance in hell out of the next 15 years I would make a major league roster. And that's a disparity there. If you throw enough money at the problem, in theory, you could, it doesn't mean you're going to stay, but you could taste the dream. And because of how expensive things are getting, that is really striating who can actually chase that out of college. Again, boat prices, your truck, hotel, food. it's getting bad. And I think we need to really, as an organization, Brian, again, Major League Baseball, 10, 15 years ago, hey, we need to get back into inner cities. We need to really work on our
Yeah.
grassroots again. And I think this is why they're attacking kayak. That's why they're getting into kayak. This is why Yamaha bought Torqeedo. They're seeing the writing on the wall where this is going to be going, because who can afford a $200,000 bass boat? And that's why you're seeing kayak high school fishing, which about that, college kayak fishing. Like, this is probably them trying to make the transition, or basically hedging their bet, financially.
Yeah.
It's what you're talking about there, baseball. I saw something the other day. If you stay in the minor leagues longer than 3 years, you're washed up.
Mm-hmm.
If you're
Well,
in the minor leagues of baseball at longer than 3 years, you're already washed up, because there's already another 1,000 kids that come behind you.
look at Ish Monroe, who was in the Opens, left BPT to go to the Opens because sponsors probably wanted him to do, or whatever it was. He felt like getting back into the elites was important. He spent 3 or 4 years of being at really close to that top level, and then finally going, this doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
probably. And now went back out west and doing unbelievable.
Yeah, he's
But
doing great out there. He's fishing. Well, he fished the Wild West series, and then
yeah, the
he
one,
did
yeah. I mean, you get into the
one.
Opens. Yeah, you get into the Opens, and if you don't do well, I call it the open purgatory. You're there stuck for life.
You
Mm-hmm.
really are.
And that stinks for a professional at the caliber of Ish Monroe.
Yeah, because I think what is it? The Bass Angler magazine, they took over the Wild West series, and he's been fishing some of that. So it is, it's kind of crazy. You see Ish at all the classics, all
But
the expos, all the big events, and
Mm-hmm.
then
and Brian, we talked about this on the other end of the spectrum, especially with scope and the young anglers. Being a professional is not a right. And I think there was, with the rise in college anglers in scope, this, not everybody, there was a sentiment like, okay, but I've been a pro for this long, I deserve to be here. I'm sorry, if you're Jamie Moyer as a pitcher and you're 50, at some point it's about results, and not like, I used to be good. If you cannot catch them anymore, you're not guaranteed to be on here indefinitely. And that's really, it's like, you can make exceptions here and there, but at some point that will jeopardize this being a sport, if you're going to try to make rules or whatever to let people stay on, or find ways to get them back into the league that don't belong there because they can't perform anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I
I think.
actually
Go
I
ahead.
actually thought Ike Nelly was going to hang it up this year. I had heard rumors, and because he hadn't, he jumped out of the Major League Bass Pro Series, and he got the exemption because he's a classic winner. But I had heard he was going to hang it up. Last couple of years have not been great for Ike Nelly since he left.
I remember sitting in at one of the Summit Cups for Major League Fishing before the split, and Mike telling me that he thought he was going to retire in 5 to 7 years, and that was 10 years ago. And I think if his television show would have been taken off and done really well, he probably would have. I think that it's hard to compete with these guys that scope. I mean, and the other thing is, and I was going to say this earlier, my biggest issue with a lot of anglers now is I think they feel entitled. And I think the entitlement comes across as not being humble, and people can see through the bullshit now. And
Yeah.
when you get on your show or your podcast and you lie about everything, or lie about majority of stuff, or you're always overacting. That's the best way to put it. That the people that watch now can go, I don't like this, or I don't believe it.
It's not, in my opinion, it's not just the scope. It is a perfect scenario of everything going wrong for that old guard, where the people that we grew up with, the Eichenels and Kevin Van Dams, that crop was getting older by the time you had the maturity of the high school farm system and the college farm system really hitting the zeitgeist of these really good anglers. Because again, in 2014 is when I was in college fishing. That was just its infancy. So it's not been around a long time. So now you got the second generation, which is like the McKinneys, that have all they've done from middle school on is fish. And then on top of that, that angler that has toured the nation since high school, then you also on top of that give them scope. If you take away
Yeah.
scope, I don't necessarily agree that and you didn't say this, of course, but I don't think like there's a big like drop in young talent. I think the young talent will still be there. It was
Mhm.
just that final nail that really hit the coffin home when you give those young guns that kind of technology on top of it.
I think the one thing the young anglers have done better than anything is, and I talked to Logan Parks about this a couple years ago because I was going to do a video about how the young anglers were outworking the veteran older anglers because they don't have a family and they don't have kids and they don't have any of that stuff. So they're
Yep.
able to spend, like, I don't even know. I think I talked to Chad Mrazek, who I just think is one of the best of all time, or Bank Shaw. I mean, this kid can fish
Yeah, Bank's
with
amazing.
scope or without scope, but they spend 320 days on the water. They go someplace and can spend 3 or 4 weeks. Like when I talked to Logan Parks about this, he said, me and Robert G and all these guys went to this place to pre-practice for an elite event. We spent 4 weeks there. In that 4 weeks, we did not see one older veteran pro go out there. And you want to know what? Now you're wondering why you're getting your face kicked in?
Yeah.
And you want to know, everyone has a different perspective on, what their priorities are in life. But when it's your job, sometimes you got to go pre-fish.
And we talk about the baseball analogy again. You guys know the off season right now is going on. All the baseball players in Puerto Rico. I mean, they're down south playing ball. And you have to transfer. We had a young angler on the show as well. Thomas tell you that. And he was talking about, the same thing. It's like 325, 30 days out of the year. He's on the water fishing because it is his job. We're past the weekend of where all the, you guys watched the series that Bassmaster did, where I worked in my farm for 5 days and then I went down and fished a Bassmaster event. Those days are
Well,
gone.
yeah, and again, that's why it's like it is literally the perfect storm because here we'll go one more analogy, which is I'm seeing my childhood disappear with the retirement of Aaron Rodgers. All of the pocket passers are gone. That was a huge crop of talent, which is the Iconellis, the Kevin Van Dams, the Skeet Reeses. That's the same crop of quarterbacks. And they
Yeah.
all got to the same age at the same time as soon as all these young guns hit. And I think all of that put together created this huge blowback with forward-facing sonar. Forward-facing sonar, yes, but then you add every single other thing to it. It just makes this perfect storm of they were going to retire around this time. Maybe they go a little bit longer, but then you throw in these young guns that, again, all young athletes, the next generation of young athletes will be better than the generation before them. And being on the water is like being in the gym. And that's what they are. I interviewed two guys that were in the high school national championship. They took classes from the boat. They just power pulled down, took the class, got back up and started fishing. Like, how do you compete against that at 14, 15 years old? And they're going to, in their 20s, good God, they're going to be
So,
deadly.
so my little boy's a state champion swimmer. He is a great swimmer. So he competes against, kids his age, and he finished one year. He finished third in states, and he finished seventh. And he's in the fastest of the fastest kids in the nation. Now Thomas competes against. This is not an exaggeration. There's a young man called Reef McMeeking. He is a swimming prodigy. Now Reef swims at six. What, McMeeking? You didn't like
He's
that?
just like, he's
The
going up
name.
against Dolphin McFishburne,
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's
So he swims every morning from 6 to 9 o'clock. And then this is a 15-year-old kid. And he does from 9, he eats. And then from 9 to 10, he does workout. And then he does 2 hours of homework. And then he gets back in the pool. And then he runs at the end of the day. Now, in
Wow.
swimming, like 100th of a second is a lot of time. Reef beats, and Thomas finished in seventh in the state in the 100 and the 200 fly. Two of the hardest things. Reef beats Thomas sometimes by 15 seconds.
Wow.
That's
And
wild.
when you're able to put all that time in the water, just like in fishing, you put that time in the water and you learn all of the stuff that's going on. And then someone comes in and doesn't practice and only gets 2 days of practice. They're not at the level of that guy those young men who not only scope, but just spent 4 weeks fishing that body of water. And not to mention, they also room together too. So they're all
Yep.
sharing the same information. And these traditional and older anglers think, because they have that experience on the water for so many years, that they can compete with them. That isn't how it works. And unfortunately, then you drop scoping on them, and these guys
Yeah.
don't want to scope. And they're really, You can't win. You can, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not scoping, you're hoping.
Uh-huh.
Unfortunately, no. I mean, I talked to a rep this week at the Richmond Expo, and he was talking about how many, the older anglers that just finally just gave in or either gave up. And that, that was another big conversation at the Richmond Expo. And you guys can comment below about how many people have actually just stopped being tournament anglers, just fishing regular tournaments or not fishing, but not fishing at that tournament level like they used to. Because I talked to my jersey maker, Wild Wear America, by the way, creates all our jerseys, Mandatar. Uh, and she's telling me up there where she lives. I mean, she's way up north from us, and so many anglers have just given up. I mean, they didn't want to spend the extra $5,000 to $10,000 to compete.
Forward
But they're
facing
also
sonar is like, keep going.
probably, but probably the age had a lot to do with it as well. I mean, I'm 52. I mean, if you're 55, 60, why you need to spend that much money? I mean, just go have fun.
Do you think you can catch more fish with a 7-foot 6-inch bass rod and the best reel, or that miniature Barbie rod that is probably going to break and the line's going to break? Forward facing sonar is that unbelievable rod, and everybody else is using that Barbie rod.
Hmm.
And you're able to cast further, you're able to do everything, and this rod has its limitations.
So, as my state, huge shout out to Ryan Gary for doing this for Maryland. They did a huge study about forward facing sonar in the different tournaments, and the big thing they came up with is it depends, because what we keep forgetting is like, how does the lake set up? How does the field of play set up? And that's what they have found, and it was really highlighted if you look at the winners of Bassmaster last year. If you're on the Upper Mississippi River, spoiler, scope ain't going to do shit for you. If you're at Toledo Bend in February, yeah. And people don't want to hear the scope lake versus non-scope lake, but it's a
Hmm.
factor. When you get these lakes that are, Bugs Island was built the same year that we were storming the beaches of Normandy. It's old. We don't have standing timber much anymore. It is an old, clear fishery. Hartwell, clear. If you're going to have pelagic species, 100% scope is going to play more. And in some cases, lakes that people thought were dead, it's showing you that there's life in them. They need to do a better job, in my opinion. I know there's a lot that goes into it about balancing the schedule out, which they're doing. Because if you go to specific places that do give an advantage to shallow water anglers can still play. Tidal Potomac, 10 killer, when the water went up by 3 or 4 feet, that showed us that, hey, you had to get up in the bushes to catch them. And again, people don't like to hear scope lake versus non-scope lake, but it sounds like a thing in 2026 and beyond.
Well, I mean, if you look at
Yeah.
if you ask Joseph and the people from BPT, they'll send you the statistics of how many fish were caught during forward facing sonar and how many were not. Or and really, when you look at it that way, and remember it's 3 hours versus 6 hours.
Yeah.
Last year there was a lot more fish when there was no scope versus when there was scope. But again, just like you said, it depends on where you are. Like this first tournament, which was phenomenal for the BPT. That first period when everyone was using the sonar, Drew Gill destroyed him. He
Mm-hmm.
did catch him the rest of the day. But he had a 24-pound lead at one point because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's that good. But you're 100% right. There needs to be a definite change in the schedule to make some that diversify the schedule, so there's some places it's really okay and some places it isn't. Or like I think the BPT is the best format. I love the 3 hours with it and the 6 hours without it. But I
I
like
do
it
too.
because I like it because it makes there's always constant fish being caught. Sometimes they're dinks, sometimes they're not. But when we watch fishing, we want to see fish being caught. We don't want to have lulls
Mm-hmm.
of an hour of without doing anything,
No,
because then you're
100%.
losing everything, and
I
that's the issue.
I liked it a lot as well because I kind of consider it based on the Big Bass Tour. We get the Big Bass Tour. It comes here to Smith Mall Lake every year, and weigh in every hour, and I kind of like that. But I also like the strategery behind it all, and I kind of I like the mental side of it as well. And deciding whether you want to bring that 5 pounder to the scale, and it might get knocked out and you not make any money. And,
Mhm.
picking that hour that you want to use forward facing sonar, like you're saying in a BPT series. And, Wheeler didn't, I didn't get to watch it all. We were traveling, we were at expos this weekend, but I was told, Wheeler didn't use the forward facing sonar at all, hardly at all, the whole entire event. I mean, he used it just a little bit. And so, I mean, in second place. So
Yeah.
these anglers know what the hell they're doing. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all it is about it.
And
Yeah,
that's the evolution
you're
of
at
it.
that level. You're gonna, that's the difference. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, you're good. Like, and that's just we still in social media today, we don't understand like scope is only like 5 years old when you talk about when it really hit the zeitgeist in like 2019, 2020, but that was just with Garmin. So it's less old than that when all the major manufacturers had one. And so I think directors are going to get a little bit more savvy with building the schedules out. And I see this more like because of kayaking, and I cover North Carolina. North Carolina is not a scope state compared to South Carolina or the TVA system. It's just not. Tournaments are not won usually with scope. And there are kayak tournaments that we have on bodies of water that have pristine shallow habitat. And there are people winning big money just skipping a jig around the bank. Why? It's because there are fish shallow. And I think it'll be interesting if the tournament directors go on and start seeing this and be like, okay, let's go to Gunnersville in the summer when the frog bites on because people like to see that. Or we're going to go to Champlain where you can punch
Yeah.
up there up north. And if they start doing that, just like in football or baseball, where you have an advantage with the field, a pitcher's ballpark versus a hitter's ballpark, that would be pretty cool. But circling the conversation back, the devil's in the details of they want to see the big weights. And baseball was at its best when you just pumped them full of steroids because we love to see the long ball, baby. And that is such a weird, if you are a guy like that, if we put scope and we go to Toledo Bend or Gunnersville in January, we know what we're going to see. But we're also going to have a lot of people that hate us to do that. Where do you fall on that, though? And I'm glad I'm not them.
Yeah, making a schedule like, so the dual threat started today. And when Ethan was starting to make his schedule, and I'm not an employee of Dual Threat, I need to make that very clear. He asked me for help. Where do I think is the best places they can go and do well? And for him, I said, look, your first year, in my opinion, you go to the places where they can get the biggest fish. Try to get,
Yeah.
because if they're catching big fish, and so Okeechobee was instantly one of the places. But I said to him, you better hope to hell that it doesn't get cold down here. Because when we get cold, or when our fish get cold, they stop eating everything. And they did well today. I think first place was probably at that like 22 pounds. But to be quite honest, last weekend on the Harris chain, first place took 36. And we were in a warmer weather. And
Yeah.
so I think they have to make a schedule to get back to it is unbelievably hard. It's so tough to do. Now BPT and the elites probably have a much better grasp, but really where they go fish is where they're getting paid to go fish. They put out
We talk,
bids and say who can pay us the most, and then we're going there. And that
me and
doesn't help
Thomas
either.
we had on the gentleman from Bass Pro did the
BFLs.
schedule for the Opens and the Toyota series and all like that. Not the Opens, but the BFLs. Yeah, the BFLs. Sorry. And we were just talking about the logistics for that, and it was crazy. And he talked about how many trailers they had, and trying to get these trailers from one lake to another lake. And I know here in Virginia, the trailers stay in locations because we'll have the Piedmont division, then we'll have 2 weeks later the Shenandoah division, then the trailer will be shipped off to another lake. And just putting that all together and having so many different divisions and all this stuff, that's a whole lot of work. People don't understand what, I know the anglers, I wish they would do it here. I wish they would do it here. It is so much more to it. And that's why we had him on. Is hopefully you guys went and listened to the episode last year, was to really tell you guys how much really goes into running a tournament series, getting permits, paying the permits, dealing with the Army Corps of Engineering, the Army Corps of Engineers, which we have up here, who wants 2% of all your winnings. or 5% of all your
Yeah.
winnings. Yes, yes, sir, yes, sir. They want a percentage of all the winnings. They want the ramp fee, and then you got to buy a permit on top of that.
Yeah, we have a black pass permit down here that makes where does that money go? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, because
Earl
nothing's
Pond.
happened to Bugs Island in decades, so I don't know
Yeah.
where it's going.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's the issue with the system the way it is. Eventually, bass fishing will die and it'll become a regional sport because if it's a snake eating its own tail, where if you're only going to go where the money is culturally accepted, that's going to reduce over time because you're going to lose your footprint other places. And so eventually, it will only be South Carolina, Texas, Alabama, and Florida. And it's scary because like Virginia, like we're California 2.0, baby. Like you have so many people on the boards of advisories. It's like, what is fishing? Ew. We just want wineries and vineyards and stuff like that. So I do think they need to balance it out in a perfect world to where like we're going to go to new places to actually be a representation of the sport or do different things to try to keep the grassroots
Right.
alive in certain areas. Because you don't do that, it doesn't take long for the board of advisors to grow up without sports, without hunting and fishing, and then it's gone.
The problem, though, is that some of these organizations that have 150, 130, 150 boats, whatever it is, they can't go to the small places. The BPT cutting
Right.
is as much as people don't like it. The
Boom.
BPT cutting down to 51
Yep.
pissed off a lot of people, pissed off a lot of anglers because they didn't know about it at the split. But now they're able to go to places that is
Yep.
completely different than every
Bingo.
place else.
And
And
I
now
Agreed.
and they can go and say, here's our economic, like the woman that runs the ABT. I don't know her name right off the top of my head.
Oh,
Wonderful
I know
woman.
Sheila.
No,
No, it's not
Kay
her. She runs
Donaldson
the.
is her name. Kay, and she'll
Okay.
tell you, when we take the ABT to this place, we are bringing in $350,000-$400,000 of economic growth to that place. So you need to do this, and that's where all these organizations go. They go, well, we're bringing 100. Let's just use the BPT or the invitationals for example. They're bringing 150 anglers to this place, Gunnersville. Now you're looking at $500,000 in economic revenue and that might be low. Look at the Classic. Classic only has 56 or 58 anglers. They bring in $38 million to that host city.
Wow.
But when you look at, like I said, circling back, when you have a tournament that has 150 people, there's only certain places they can go because you
Yeah.
can't have everybody fighting for the water. It would be great if we had people fighting for the water because then we'd have more drama, and drama means more clicks for the majority of the people. But you got to go to the places where there's a big enough place and accommodations and gas and food and all that stuff comes into play. So
Wow.
nothing's ever going to be perfect.
110%.
Yeah, but the issue is also it's like money because like Lake Tenkiller is like 12,000 to 13,000 surface acres. There is a shit ton of lakes in the United States that are about that big or smaller. So it's not just size, like you said. It's not that you have to have a 100,000 acre lake. It is the biggest thing is the money. Like number one and first and foremost, it does the check clear because I'm pretty sure the reason they go to the Sabine is not just because the fishing has been outstanding for the past 15 years with mega bags. There are other issues like crowd size and money. There's a reason you're going to keep going there. But again, BPT, I've said this since the beginning with the BPT. They are not bound by legacy. And they are a chef that will keep changing the formula. And some people will get food poisoning. Sometimes they'll hit it out of the park. But when they get that recipe right, that is going to scare the crap out of Bassmaster because they're going to experiment until they either run out of money or they win. And that is interesting.
The BPT, and I think the BPT is the best. And I have people say all the time, you're only a Major League Fishing fan. That's not the case. I love all fishing. But they made so many changes that first 4 years that now the last couple of years, without making a lot of changes other than shrinking the field and condensing it to the most elite group of anglers, people love the format even more. And then you add the team series and you're like,
yep.
The team series just blows my mind. I mean, I love the team series.
That's
But
their
then you
magnum
have
opus, I think, honestly.
I agree with you. But they keep doing these just tiny tweaks.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I will be honest, I think that the Elites has a drastic like makeover for their production this year, or I hope they do, because last year 2 years ago they had so much drama with everything, and then
Mhm.
last year the
Drama.
the drama, and then you had that halftime show, and there were so many little things to poke the bear at, and I hope that they change things so that it's drastically better, because the production value of BPT is exceeding everybody, in my opinion. And that's the that's the whole thing that's great about Major League Fishing right now. And not to
Yeah.
mention the payouts, increasing the payouts that make the anglers happy. If the anglers are happy, they're not bitching so much. That's the whole thing. I mean, no offense to most of the pro anglers, man, they can bitch like something else.
It ain't even
And
gotta be pros.
yeah, well, yeah, it doesn't have to be a pros. It's everyone. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an asshole.
Boom. All right, we're gonna wrap it up there, boys and girls. Uh, what a way to end a nice show. But guys, Steve Chapman, get your fish on. I went and looked at your numbers, dude. What are you like? Almost 29,000 subscribers, I think it's what it is. Let's get him to 30,000 subscribers. Let's get some real checks going for a great show. Maybe he can
Not
get
on
up
YouTube. I do
hey,
appreciate that.
Bass Geek's got almost 100. So I mean, our other co-host. So yeah, it can be done. I mean, Bass Geek's a pole boat from down in Southwest Virginia. So I mean, if he can do it, anybody can, and he'll laugh and tell you it's true. But worked his butt off, and that's what it really takes. So, and like I say, he's got a great following as well. He's none of us are as famous as Thomas yet, but we're trying to get there.
I don't know if
I
I
have
want to be that famous.
a small pond is all.
Yeah, I want to just. I get embarrassed when people know who I am. That's the
Come on,
truth.
Steve.
That's the God's honest truth.
I
There are.
remember I
Go ahead.
remember going to bat tackle stores and people like, "Hey, you're the Bass Cast guy," and I was like, God, I
Get
have a
Yeah.
out.
name."
Yeah. Yeah, I have a name. Like I said, I don't like this, and I
Come on,
never
Steve.
expected this to be. It was just quickly. I had a friend named Mark, and my buddy Mark is like, you need to do videos. People are gonna like that you're as honest as possible, and you're try to be
Real.
unbiased. You might not like everything that comes out of my mouth, but it's not to hurt you. And then I was
Mhm.
like, I don't want to do this. And then slowly, as the radio show ended, I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. And he sends me a text every week about telling me how much he loves my face, and I hate him. I hate him. I don't even reply to his texts anymore.
Oh my goodness.
No, I do. That's another pet peeve. I hate that if you text or call somebody and you don't reply to them in a reasonable time. I think that's totally immature and unprofessional and disrespectful.
I'm with you on that. I'm a big if you text me, unless I'm at work, and I tell people, I've got a window I can't answer. But other than that, I'm like boom, boom, boom. And that's just one of those OCD type things that I just believe, I don't leave any comment left unanswered or untold. So yeah, that's a really big, huge thing for me. And that's probably one of the reasons why I feel like you're always on your phone. I was like, yes, because people are always messaging me, and I'm always answering because that's how stupid I am. But there you go.
It might not be spelled correctly or make sense, but he'll reply to you. Brian, you doing
You
okay?
damn right.
Snorkel. It's like,
I reply.
okay.
I reply to every comment, unless I've banned
It,
you or whatever. Every comment I do, and I even give a lot of followers my phone number. I tell them, if you have an issue or you just want to talk to somebody and get a different opinion, email me. I give you my phone number. Just don't share it, and I will reply or text you
Mm.
in a reasonable
Nah,
time.
hell no, I will not. I changed my number to a Google number this year, 2 years ago after that threat to kill me.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sucks. That's
yeah,
scary.
that went to a Google telephone number from here on out. And when the tournament season really gets in, I kick it back on. And when it over, I kick it off. And if there's any
Mm.
messages there, they are there. But nah, after that, no, my number disappeared. I got a few people that know it, and that's about it. So,
I really,
guys,
I really appreciate you guys having me on. If you ever need me
nah,
or want
dude,
to ask opinions or whatever, if I can help you, if even in YouTube you need some stupid, you want to know what's going on, I always am more than willing to help
Thomas,
any
there
of
you
you. I
go.
don't know if I need to help Bass Geek, obviously, but if you guys need my help, I do really well at Photoshop because I am a graphic designer. So if I
Oh,
can ever
cool.
help you
That's awesome.
any time, please get a hold of me. And thank you for the time tonight.
Yeah, Steve, definitely, dude. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for saying yes. I really appreciate that. And like I said, I've been watching your stuff for quite a while now. Great product. Like I said, I reference it because a lot of great shows, and I was trying to keep up with what's going on. And Steve definitely keeps up with what is going on in the world of tournament bass fishing. He might be lying to you guys, but it's really huge. I started covering the local events, and as I've seen here lately, locals are starting to die a little bit, and I've had to kind of transition. I was going to make the jump last year, and I did a little bit. We muddied the water a little bit, hitting some of the making the long runs, I kind of call it, and traveling to cover the BPT series and the opens and things of that nature. And this year we're going to hit the water really hard in that direction because I really do, and we've talked about it here. I see 5 years, it's going to be a professional sport. Everybody's going to get paid. Sorry, not sorry. And the TV rights are going to pay for the organizations because that's what they're going to sign up for. And you still might have a little bit of a feeder system. We've talked about what the tackle warehouse disappearing and it being, or tackle warehouse staying, and you have the Toyota series, vice versa, and everybody having that one feeder system, and that's pretty much it. I mean, because the kids are jumping from high school to the pros now. I mean, you got 20-year-old, 23-year-old quarterbacks with a $40 million contract, and there's no backup behind them. Me and Danielle had that whole conversation the other day. It's like, all these young quarterbacks that came out in the last couple of years have nobody behind them. I mean,
Mhm.
nobody. You see what the Colts had to do. I mean, my God. I mean, they went out, signed a two game year with a great quarterback that
And
was
it was
50 years
delightful.
old. So I mean,
Tom Brady was they were thinking about signing Tom Brady probably.
And that
yeah.
would have been even
And I'd
better.
like to say he
Bring
probably
back.
could have done well.
Oh
Oh
god,
yeah.
yeah.
So I
Yeah, they
mean,
don't make them like they used to.
the world
No.
tournament bass fishing changing. We're changing, and we're going to be a part of it. And guys, any parting words before we go? I know we went over a little bit tonight, but it was a freaking great conversation, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Steve, we'll definitely have you back on throughout the year and get your thoughts and opinions because we love doing that here at Basscast Radio. So thank you.
Anytime. Just you guys have my phone number now, so just call me
I
out.
got it.
Even if you have last minute, just tell me. I'm in anytime I can help y'all. We're
Sweet.
family now. You're brothers. This
Woo!
is the ugly brother, but the what I call the Shrek of the
Oh
bass
god.
fishing world.
My God, Steve.
Uh,
Steve, stop being this hard on yourself. Thomas, anything before we have to go? Come on, you're not that Steve.
No, I mean all good. Just y'all are crazy for watching my last. I think I had the river biologist report where I stacked them back to back. It was 9 hours long. Every river biology report on Virginia. You guys killed it. I think it has
It's
like
a hammer, man.
400 hours of watch time in 3 days. The amount of people that watch the whole damn thing, please get a life and get a job. You should not be watching
did
9
you do
hours
this
straight.
live or did you
No,
film
no.
it?
I
Okay.
stacked them back to back just to do one big show to see what YouTube would think about it. But the amount of people in the algorithm that literally at 7 a.m. sat all the way through it, I was kind of impressed, honestly. So yeah, guys, more content to be coming out. A couple more biology reports that I did already film. One with Back Bay, which will be interesting. The history of Back Bay in Virginia, the place that really made the Albemarle Sound what it is. Spoiler there. That'll be coming out in April. So tons of good content as always. Just go check it out.
All right,
Awesome.
guys, have a great week, everyone. Like I said, English choices this weekend. Oh, I forgot to plug this. My bad. There's another fishing lesson that we're talking about the other day down in North Carolina. Um,
Green
oh,
something?
Greenville.
Greenville.
Are we right? No, we're probably wrong. We suck. I will
Greenville.
post in the comment section below. But they're adding another show this year, and yeah, I should have done a little bit better on this end. I was thinking about Steve too much. But
February 20th through the 22nd, be at the Greenville Boat Show and Sale. Again, that'll be at Greenville, North Carolina, February 20th through the 22nd.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas, for
Welcome.
bailing me out here, brother. So yes, make sure you guys come on down. It's a brand new show for that organization. They're excited about that. And I heard Raleigh was great, but I heard Raleigh's kind of turned more into of a boat show
Yeah.
than a fishing expo. Because I'll be honest, I go down there for the saltwater myself. I don't go down there for the tackle because I love saltwater fishing, but I go down there for saltwater side. So they're adding this new show. So please make sure you guys come down, support, check it out. There's not a lot around that town. My buddy was checking it out. He's going down and he was looking for a place to eat. He said, I think it's like 3 restaurants there. That's about it. I mean, it's not much around there. So hopefully bring a lot of people down that, just want to, it's going to be like a traveling circus. It's coming to your town near you. So you guys make sure you guys check it out. Appreciate you guys listening. Don't forget our Patreon sponsorship is in the link below. Please become Patreon. Help what we do here at Basscast Radio and the basscast.com. You guys have a great week, everyone. And we'll see you all right back here at Basscast Radio.